Hi everybody, I'm Tara from Crooked Row, and today we're going to talk about pruning your blackberries. Actually pruning and fertilizing your blackberries. It's that time of year right now. It's about the second week of March, and in my zone it is time to definitely prune. Some people prune in the winter time. I like to try to prune, especially on my berry bushes, in time, sorry for the wind, but in times of when we know that we're not going to get super hard frosts. And so from here on out, we probably shouldn't get anything. Now watch, we'll have a blizzard and I'll have damage to my berries, but typically we do not. So I'm going to go ahead. I want to talk a little bit about it though, because there is confusion. So there are different types of blackberry canes or brambles, and the kind that we have most of ours are called a brand called Triple Crown, and Triple Crown is everbearing, and all that means is it will give you a small flush of berries and then a large flush of berries. And so if you have everbearing, that means that you will have 2-year-old canes that produce fruit. And so, I mean, they call them primo canes and flora canes, and there's all these technical names for them, but for all intents and purposes, you're going to have first-year canes and you're going to have second-year canes. That's just easier to remember. And so on your second-year canes is when you're going to get the most fruit. So on your very first cane, on your prima cane, you're going to get a little bit of fruit, and it's typically like at the tip of the tip of the cane. And so you want to go through and on the ones that you are a second-year cane, so it has fruited at the top of that cane. So your prima canes, or no, let me not do prima canes and floor canes. So on your first year cane will turn into a second year cane that second year, and so you're going to want to prune the tips of those, and it will create more berries. It gets out the dead part. That tip is not going to produce any longer. But let me show you on an actual bush so you know what I'm talking about. Here is our blackberry bush, and this particular cane, it even still has like little dried leaves on the end of it. It shows signs that it had fruit on it. And so you see that all through here. Whoops, so sorry. And so I'm just gonna come to the end of its fruiting and just snip that off. Now, this is actually not what you want. This cane is kind of a secondary cane off of a main cane. I actually like to prune everything down to the main canes, and I don't allow the secondary canes except for in the year it's fruiting. I know this gets complicated and I apologize. But so anyway, so this is second year wood right here. Now if you wonder what to just prune out altogether, this is dead. It's brown, it's crusty. We're gonna go all the way down to the bottom here, as far down as you can reach, and prune that right out. There we go. So any dead, even damaged or diseased canes, if you want to go ahead and get those out as well, it's better to go ahead and cut what looks like a productive vine, I keep saying vine, cane like this, but it might have some damage on it. Just go ahead and cut it out and kind of restart your process of the first and second year canes. That's not going to hurt you. Or if you just want one flush of berries, go ahead and cut them all the way down. I like the 2 flushes. I have kids and they enjoy that. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to cut out damaged, diseased. I'm going to trim back my second year canes so they can have their last fruiting this year, and go from there. So here we go. That looks a lot better than it did when we started. So I went ahead and I pruned out dead, damaged, or diseased canes. And then I also tipped all of the canes that were primocanes turning into floricanes. And then this year we'll have the growth of the primocanes. So this year we'll have the growth of first year canes, and I trimmed all the second year canes. But now we have one raspberry bush that I need to get to, and those just are gonna get trimmed all the way down. Here is our raspberry bush. These I just trim all the way down, as close to the ground as I can get them actually. Let me start over here. And these are prickly. I really should have gloves on, and I do not. So there you have springtime pruning. They damaged, diseased, wrong proportionate. Like there are some that kind of trail along the ground that I clip too. I'm actually going to go through with berry tone right now, and I'm going to fertilize every one of these. A bag of berry tone fertilizes about a 100-foot row, so it doesn't need a ton, and berries aren't super duper heavy feeders. They're not like corn. So that's it for my, the only other thing that I might do is I actually might take some wood mulch and put mulch over my berry row. But other than that, we're gonna have another video on planting. We've got a bunch of raspberries to plant, so we'll have another video on that, and I'll teach my son how to plant raspberries. But make sure that you get out and you actually prune. Even if you prune wrong, it's better than not pruning at all. Pruning actually stimulates growth hormones on your plants, so it's better to err on the side of caution as opposed to not pruning at all. So also, another thing, I usually have Felcos, and I used to not think that this kind of thing mattered until I had to use these. My sweet mom got these. They're very cute, but they're not, even though I sharpened them right before I started, they're not very sharp, and so it was extraordinarily difficult to actually cut through some of these canes. I couldn't imagine using these on a tree. So these will be used more for like snippers and annuals, like little garden things, but this is not a pruning tool. Buy good pruners, Felcos, Corona. There are several ones out there that are very good, very sharp, and when you sharpen them, I mean, they are like super sharp. You can just like slide right through like butter. So tools matter. Make sure and clean all your utensils. If you are getting rid of all your tools, not utensils, if you are going to switch, really even from plant to plant, it can be extremely helpful to go ahead and just, this is toilet paper and some alcohol, and you just wipe down your blade quickly. You can keep it in your pocket. Some people use the little towelettes and keep in their pocket because you don't want to transfer disease. But especially if you're moving between types, like if you go from blackberries to raspberries, clean. It will only save you time in the end. Also, if you're looking at a branch and you're like, oh my gosh, this branch is beautiful, but it's got a little bit of disease in it, or a squirrel chunked into it. I had to remove almost an entire plant because a squirrel had been gnawing at the bottom, and everything else was healthy. It looked like it was going to be a healthy thing, and I could take a chance and go ahead and grow it, but I don't want to, just because it's going to be more susceptible to disease, so just cut it out. So better to save this year as opposed to subsequent years of disease and fighting these things. Just cut it out. So that's all that we've got today for pruning blackberries and raspberries. And again, blackberries are different from raspberries. Look up your type of plant, and if you don't know what you have, do it by trial and error. Try and see what type you have by how you prune. So remember, if we can prune our berries, anybody can. Thanks. Bye.